Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right in today because we've got a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying topic, a biological civil war. We're talking about systemic autoimmune diseases. I want you to think about your immune system for a second. Normally, it's your fiercely loyal defense force, right? But suddenly, it gets a corrupted set of orders. It essentially becomes this misguided army, literally turning its weapons on the very tissue it was built to protect. In this Explainer, we're going to visually map out the incredible collateral damage these systemic invaders cause, and look at how modern medicine is deploying highly targeted defenses to shut them down. Okay, let's dive into this. When you hear the word arthritis, you're probably immediately picturing achy knees, stiff fingers, maybe some worn down cartilage. But we really need to shatter that misconception right now. What happens when the disease doesn't just attack the joints, but actually uses your bloodstream as a highway to invade your heart, your lungs, your eyes, and your skin? Well, that is the reality of systemic rheumatologic diseases. Here's our roadmap for the Explainer today. First, the systemic autoimmune threat. Then, RA, beyond the joints. Third, lupus, a multi-system invader. Fourth, conventional DMARDs explained. And finally, biologics and targeted therapies. Starting us off with Section 1, the systemic autoimmune threat. By definition, these conditions kick off when the immune system aberrantly targets the body's own tissues. What makes rheumatology so incredibly complex is that it sits right at the intersection of immunology and the musculoskeletal system. So the inflammation might start in the synovium of a joint, sure, but those chemical messengers of inflammation, the cytokines, they spill over into the whole body. This misguided army doesn't respect borders, and that results in widespread collateral damage. This borderless spillover is exactly why patients feel so universally sick, even if it feels like just one joint initially hurts.
Moving to Section 2, RA, beyond the joints. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the classic symmetrical targeting of the joints. You see it in the hands, the wrists, the feet. It's an absolute hallmark of rheumatoid arthritis. But while those joints are the most visible targets, the destructive footprint extends way, way further. In fact, it's the systemic features that accompany this joint destruction that often dictate a patient's overall prognosis and survival.
Because this misguided immune system doesn't just stop at the bone. It can attack the lining of the heart, causing pericarditis. It inflames the eyes, leading to severe scleritis. It even creates rheumatoid nodules right under the skin. But perhaps the most critical extra-articular manifestation to watch for is in the lungs. Rheumatoid arthritis-associated interstitial lung disease, or RAILD, is a seriously severe complication. It scars the lung tissue and is notoriously tricky to treat, mostly because some of our best joint medications can actually be toxic to the lungs.
And honestly, the complications can get even more intense. Patients regularly suffer profound constitutional symptoms. We're talking debilitating fatigue and weight loss. Then there's Felty syndrome. This is a rare but really dangerous triad of RA, an enlarged spleen, and a severely low white blood cell count that leaves the patient totally vulnerable to infections. The underlying inflammation can even cause vasculitis, which cuts off the blood supply to nerves, causing painful neurological damage called mononeuritis multiplex. So we aren't just trying to save joints here. We're actively protecting vital organs.
All right, Section 3, lupus, a multi-system invader.
When we look at systemic lupus erythematosus, or SLE, the sheer frequency of organ involvement is just staggering. A massive 95% of patients experience profound systemic symptoms like fever and fatigue. Another 95% face musculoskeletal issues. But note a key contrast here with RA. Lupus arthritis is typically non-erosive. It hurts, absolutely, but it rarely eats away at the bone itself. 80% have skin and mucous membrane involvement. Think of that classic Muller or butterfly rash across the cheeks. And terrifyingly, up to half of all lupus patients will develop renal involvement or lupus nephritis. If that isn't aggressively managed, it can easily lead to kidney failure.
The internal impacts are severe. Over 60% of patients face neuropsychiatric issues, which can be anything from cognitive fog to full-blown seizures, alongside cardiopulmonary attacks on the lining of the lungs and heart. Even the blood isn't safe. Look at this. 85% have hematological issues, where autoantibodies actually destroy their own red and white blood cells. In lupus, internal organ involvement isn't just a side effect, it's usually the main event, and it is absolutely life-threatening.
This brings us to Section 4, conventional DMARDs explained.
So the crucial point is how we actually fight back. We rely heavily on two main classes of medications. Conventional DMARDs act as broad immune suppressors. They're highly effective, but they generally have a delayed onset. You might be waiting 2 to 6 months for them to really bring the disease under control. Biologic DMARDs, on the other hand, well, they're like precision-guided munitions. They target specific protein pathways or cells, and they act much, much faster.
Think of conventional DMARDs as our frontline troops. They're utilized very early on in the disease process. The goal is simple, but it's incredibly urgent. Shut down the inflammation before the immune system can cause irreversible structural progression or lasting organ damage.
Let's break down the heavy hitters here. Methotrexate is basically the gold standard. It's the anchor drug for most combination therapies. It does require folic acid supplementation and regular monitoring of liver and blood counts. Sulfasalazine is often used right alongside it. Then you've got hydroxychloroquine. This is an anti-malarial drug that works beautifully for both RA and lupus skin and joint issues, though patients do need regular eye exams to watch for a rare type of retinal toxicity. And lastly, leflunomide, which is a powerful alternative but needs careful blood pressure and liver monitoring. These are fantastic tools, but they definitely demand a watchful eye.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual treatment strategy in the clinic. Step 1 is putting out the immediate fire. We use NSAIDs and corticosteroids to give the patient rapid relief. We actually call this bridge therapy while we're waiting for Step 2 to kick in. Step 2 is getting those conventional DMARDs going early to halt the disease process. And if the disease refuses to yield, or if we're seeing severe systemic complications, we escalate to Step 3, biologic DMARDs.
Which takes us to Section 5,
biologics and targeted therapies.
Instead of just suppressing the whole immune system, biologics block specific communication lines of our misguided army. In RA, we use anti-TNF-alpha drugs to block a major inflammatory cytokine. If that doesn't do the trick, we can switch to anti-IL-6 agents like tocilizumab. We can even target the immune cells themselves. Rituximab, for example, hunts down and depletes mature B cells. This is highly effective for patients whose blood tests show specific RA antibodies. Or we can use abatacept to stop T cells from getting activated in the first place. It's a highly customized defense strategy.
The biologic arsenal for lupus is also expanding, which is just incredible news for patients facing those severe systemic threats we talked about. Belimumab specifically targets B-cell survival pathways. Rituximab is heavily utilized in refractory lupus cases, especially when the kidneys or nervous system are under attack. And recent clinical guidelines now include anifrolumab. This is a newly approved monoclonal antibody that shuts down the interferon receptor pathway, which we know is often severely overactive in lupus patients.
We've seen how these diseases ravage the body far beyond just the joints, and how our medical defenses have evolved from broad suppression to molecular precision. But it leaves us with an inspiring, yet pretty challenging thought. As we map the immune system with ever greater detail, identifying every single cytokine and cellular pathway, will we one day find a way to permanently reprogram this misguided army? Will we finally move from just suppressing these systemic invaders to completely curing them? That is the ultimate frontier of rheumatology. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.